Always knew it's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always knew in the night I dream of love so true. Another night, another dream, but always knew it's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always knew in the night I dream of love so true. In the night, in my dreams, I'm in love with you. Have you talked to me like the first? I feel joy, I feel pain, I feel the same. When the night is gone, I'll be alone.
DJ Sequence.
In the night, in my dreams, I'm in love with you. Cause you talk to me like the first do. I feel joy, I feel pain, cause it's still the same. When the night is gone, I'll be alone. Another night, another dream, but always knew it's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always knew in the night I dream of love so true. Another night, another dream, but always knew it's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always knew in the night I dream of love so true. In the night, in my dreams, I'm in love with you. Cause you talk to me like the first. I feel joy, I feel pain, cause it's still the same. When the night is gone, I'll be alone. Look around and see the beauty of the sky. Here for you and me, a wonderful life. Look around and see.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? Your toes are moving on the beat? Exactly. So are mine. I have to make sure that the microphone is off when the stream starts because I tend to sing, and nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. So yeah, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. It is the 11th of November. We've got a lot to go through today. It's been absolutely insane over the last week. But first off, I'm going to give a big shout out to my new stream sponsor, which is Breakout. I am pretty sure that most people who have been around for more than a couple of days in crypto are going to know who Breakout are. They are, founded by the likes of Cred, Main, and Ape Trade, who are all veteran traders who have all been in the space just as long as I have, if not longer. I think Main was like 2013 and so on and so forth. So yes, very credible founders, backed by Kraken. If you want to sign up and effectively take an application to trade with $100,000 for a fixed fee, which is your downside, then my code is below. So I appreciate anyone who signs up with that and wants some tips on how to run an account 100% like I've done over the last week. Sadly, I didn't do it on Breakout Prop because I hadn't sorted it out until this week, but there is still time. And as you can see in front of you, I am a profitable trader. It might only be 0.1%, but we have done $90 and $120 on Altcoin as part of an evaluation. And obviously, I'm jesting. I just was doing it to get used to the platform. But I fully intend on running up a couple of accounts on Breakout because, quite frankly, my style is very how do I put it? It's very suited to this kind of trading. I can run it really hot when conditions are right and we're getting good rotations like the last few days. So if you guys are interested in Breakout, then yeah, the link is in the comments and there is a code which will get you a discount at checkout, which is that X78837. Really catchy. Why am I called Choppy Dave? Now that is a good question. My name isn't Dave, my real name. Yeah. You can choose your name, and pretty much all of my WoW characters are called something Dave. It's just, yeah, just is what it is. But yes, fully intend on running this up. You know, I don't expect people to use something that I'm not using myself, so I will be signing up for. There's a $200,000 one as well. So even though I've got a $100,000 one up in front of me, there's plenty of different options. You can go up to $200,000. Obviously, there's limits. So, you know, your maximum daily losses and drawdowns, but that's a limit to the downside. A limit to the upside, if you are good, is obviously infinite. So, yeah, that's Breakout. So I'm really excited to have them as a stream sponsor and a partner. Yeah. Let's jump into the stream as Bitcoin is dying. So I was kind of right to close my little Altcoin long, which is minorly annoying because I would like to have seen that run. So, how's everyone been finding the last week or so? Because, to be honest, for me personally, since I came back from holiday, I felt refreshed. I've been really in sync with the market. Not to suck myself off, but I have been really in sync with the market. I've just hit rotation after rotation. I've sold tops. I haven't held for too long. Yeah, it's really gone quite well. And like in these conditions where we are getting really good risk on rotations, you know, I was in Doc's stream yesterday showing him Uniswap before it popped 40%. You can ask Doc about that. I mean, I didn't trade it as well as I could have. I ended up buying like $7 or something on spot with the group, but it was still better than nothing. It's still up reasonably. Obviously, it ran to $10. And I'm up 100% on perps, but I'm also up on spot positions. So yeah, it doesn't actually take that into account. So yeah, you know, this was yesterday. You know, it was like 35% in however long. And yeah, that was pretty wild rotation. So you know, even though the market can seem a little bit weak on certain things, there's been some fucking cracking rotations. Have you hit Nano? No. Piss Drinker is the best breakout trader. Yeah, there is someone called that. Should I call you Dave or Charlie from now on? You can call me whatever. They're both not my real name, so not to, yeah. Breakout series, bunch of videos specific to prop trading. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead through, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, Only Fools and Horses, Dave. I actually was watching that earlier, this morning. Hello. Do you use or check liquidation heat map? Nope, absolutely not. But we can come on to stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, let's start with a high time frame kind of view. Like my honest view when I came back from holiday, as I recorded my outlook for the group, was that like this is going to be this was like my last attempt at a breakout long, and obviously that failed. But this is kind of, you know, it's over touch grass territory. It's going to be pretty boring, pretty dull. But what actually happened is we found a fair bit of support down at like 100k, which is obviously a massive psychological level. And we had a little nice, gracious period of running it up. Now, I came back whenever it was, a week ago, here. And since then, we've had a really nice little leg on alts in general, right? With some major outperformers, of which I've caught most of them. And the ones I didn't catch, I caught kind of the beta of. So it's been very, very kind. This is Jelly Jelly, I think, isn't it? Yeah, I think I'll just get rid of that because it's fucking horseshit. But we've had some really, really nice rotations. And if you guys aren't using Spaghetti to trade, then, you know, I don't really know why, because one, you're in my stream, and I am generally considered a spaghetti trader, and two, it just gives you such good indications of what's moving. Bear with me one moment, I'll just mute my stream, and I'll drop that link in there. You should remake the spaghetti video. Yeah, no, I mean, if there's demand for it, then I will. I just kind of don't want to massively duplicate all the education that I've already done and put in the Paragon group. So, yeah. By the time you look at spaghetti, it's too late. You might not be on low enough time frame. You know, realistically, when I'm trading this, I'm on like the 1 to 15 second. And I know that sounds really autistic, because it is, but that's where you appreciate little nuances. So the reason that I longed Altcoin, you will see here, is because it, what was it? I think it was the rotation before. Here you go. It is, you know, way ahead of everything else. You can see in that rotation that it's exceptionally strong, and that was why I took the Altcoin trade here, which is, you know, it didn't work out in terms of a good rotation, but you can see why I put it back on my list. You can see why I thought, you know what, this might actually run. And yeah, it just does a great job of filtering out the noise. And I know it doesn't look like it, right? It does take some time to get used to it and to read it properly. But I can assure you, when you get in the swing of it, it presents lots of opportunities. Any Paragon discount coming up? Yeah, there's literally a load of Paragon discounts today, mate. We boshed out Black Friday deals today. So yeah, check those out. But yeah, it's been such a strong environment for rotations. And I'll give you a really good example. There was WLFI, which pumped, yeah? Absolutely ripped. I completely missed that move, but there was a really nice rotation straight afterwards on Trump, and it's kind of like they are connected. Do you know what I mean? Like these coins, WLFI is the whole Trump like media team and all that kind of rubbish, and then Trump in and of itself as a token. You know, this pumps. You always think like one of your first points of call should be what's a connected token, what's similar, what might pump with it, yeah? And then look for signals to get in on that. And a lot of coins have been doing this, right? They've had, you know, nice resistance, nice resistance, nice resistance, strong breakout candle, into small consolidation, into pump, you know, and I call that little thing the giraffe, breakout, consolidate, pump again, and that's it, right? Really nice. So you kind of get a second opportunity to jump in. Plenty of them have done that, and now we're in this consolidation phase up here. We might even get another breakout long on WLFI, which we would be able to identify quite cleanly with this, yeah? So we can see that it's still got actually quite a lot of relative strength, so it does look pretty good if we want to, let's go lower time frame, because I'm only really interested in like the latest rotation. Let's jump in so that we've actually got a decent pivot. Okay, so Uni, Zek, you know, they're the sort of winners of this rotation at the moment. You know, this is where I'd be focusing, you know, rotational plays on. And obviously I'm not going to be trading now because I'm sat here chatting to you wonderful people. But, yeah, when we're looking at like playing a breakout like this, we want to see a breakout in relative strength, because then we've got two series of invalidations. One is, has it still got relative strength? And then two is the price action, i.e. it should break above the range and actually break out and not come back in. Yeah, that's it. So, like, alt rotations have been fucking great. But the whole Trump one was, I think, quite, not easy, but it was the same kind of setup in terms of resistance, resistance, resistance. And then we kind of got that breakout up here, and we got a really nice rotation. I actually sold the peak at top of it for two reasons. One, excuse me, my voice seems to be going a little bit. Yeah, I could see the weakening momentum up here, and I did my meme diagonal, and it lost a load of relative strength. But yeah, my actual sells, I think I put this on my phone, but whatever. My actual sales were like the Pico top, and I got really lucky on that rotation. I've got really lucky on other rotations that I've just been so in sync with the market that I've chopped it off and then rotated it into like the next runner. Played Litecoin as well, short at the top of ZEC. Like it's just been monstrous. Whole plan here of what I did on ZEC, why I shorted it, how we go about it, and all that kind of stuff. Ran through all of that. But yeah, same queue. I got to roll onto another one. Oh, rolling discounts. Yeah, you just got to DM me. I think I'll have a look at it all and drop an announcement after the stream. Is it possible for Spaghetti viewers to switch time frame, like 1 sec, 1 minute? Yeah, you can absolutely do it. Like you can just flick between them. Like the reason that I do it is because I'm looking for a pivot, and your pivot's obviously going to be in a different place based on whether you're on the 1 minute, the 10 minute, the hourly or whatever. But sometimes if you're like looking at the price action, you go, well, I kind of know that this is a pivot. Here, I can see physically that this should be a pivot, really, but it's just not printing it there because you can see how sort of steep that is. That's pretty steep as well, but either way, I want to anchor on this latest rotation here. Like, so I'll just change it and go down a little bit. But not as strong as this particular rotation from like 5 minutes ago isn't as strong as others. And I've been very risk off today. 2 reasons. One, I doubled my account in a fucking week. Like, that's not normal. It's not normal for me anyway. That's really fucking good. So I've now got to manage my euphoria, right? I've got to make sure that I don't be dickhead Charlie and go, right, give absolutely everything back and just run it back down to 0. Yeah. To me, the big thing to do now is go, well, and this morning I said, I'm looking at this as essentially a downtrend until I can prove otherwise. This is where we start changing that structure. If we hold this as a higher low, I'm on like the daily, yeah? This is where we have the potential to start making moves out of this downtrending channel and hopefully reclaim, an uptrend on BTC. But for now, we've not got that. So I really have to respect the fact that we failed to break out of this channel and that Bitcoin is, going down. As it does, we all like the rotations, we like the volatility, but that means that when Bitcoin goes down, alts go down with it very typically. Now, sometimes some hold flat, sometimes some do run because of, specific announcements like the uni announcement or whatever. And we can see those on Spaghetti, right? It was pretty obvious yesterday that something was going on with uni, right? Even before the announcement actually came out. Like it was holding up very well. Structurally, it was just being basically TWAP'd until, eventually it broke up. Like it was just pure vertical accumulation. There's no time bar for you? Oh. Do I use TradingView alt scanner? No, but I need to build a proper one. Choppy Dive sounds like the name of a porn star, not gonna lie. Well, when we go into like full bear market territory, then that'll be my porn star name. So if you see me on Pornhub or something, say hello. I used to be a crypto trader. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process. Like going into this, like next leg of the market, I'm really hoping that we start getting some strength on Bitcoin, because if strength comes in on Bitcoin, we can really start ramping some of these alts up a little bit. Similarly, like with ETH, it just doesn't look particularly great. 4K has been this like huge level on Ethereum for a long time. It is basically dictated, the market. We've failed to hold above it for any significant amount of time, and now is like no exception, yeah? Again, we're in a downtrend. It just doesn't take a genius, I don't think, to say that being massively risk on in a downtrend just doesn't feel right. You haven't got an easy invalidation like down here. Like this is a downtrend, which we broke out of on big relative strength, consolidated, and then obviously started a strong uptrend. This is unobjectively a downtrend, and yeah, this might be the start of a run up. This might be, this might be a base that we're now starting to form that new structure off and starting to trend up. Absolutely could be, but I would feel much more confident longing Ethereum if we could reclaim, you know, significant levels, like even just something like this. Yeah, I see a lot of people like talking about ETH BTC and alt season and all this bollocks. If it comes, I will fucking destroy it. Yeah, I'll absolutely nail some rotations, and we'll get some incredible rotations on memes and all that kind of stuff. But for now, it's just not there. It's a downtrend. So we have to take our rotational trades, you know, as and when they come. I'm kind of only trading S-tier setups. I did notice there was a decent rotation on Aster earlier, which I missed because I was out. But, you know, it quickly retraced. And that's the problem with a lot of these at the moment. You know, you get like 10% run-ups, but then they just pull back and they're back to where you left off. So taking profits is pretty important in this environment. Why did you trade Uni on spot, not perps? That's a good question. But the perp book was pretty thin, so I aped in. I did trade it on. Technically, I traded it on perps for about 5 minutes, and I aped in. You know, I thought it was a smallish size position, but the book was literally just sort of going between these two like that, and it's like the spread on it was wild, and I was like, it wasn't 11% obviously, but it just felt so illiquid, and I was like, I don't really want to see a perp position like this. I'd rather just buy some spot and let it run and just sort of be oblivious to the P&L. So that's what I've done. Charlie, what do you think about BERT? So a couple of weeks ago, we were on stream and we talked about BERT. And I said, if it loses 0.50, then unobjectively, that is, you know, a reason to be worried. It held up really well on 1010 compared to everything else, right? It sold off, of course it did. But it didn't do this, which is what pretty much everything else did. Now, it's the same story. It's unobjectively in a downtrend, and it looks like shit. So, you know, am I going to say, go and load up your bags on this right here? No. I don't think it's a particularly great place to buy for me and my system, because what I do is I buy changes in structure. Yeah. I buy this here. Or I buy a breakout here and a reclaim of pivotal levels. You know, I don't buy lows, even though they are, you know, tempting, because I need to see strength in the market to get involved. I would much rather be a part of this than try and join in part of this. And that's just the unobjective, you know, truth. So, yeah, it still looks okay from like this levels perspective, but you know, I don't want to rush into a fresh position on BERT. So yeah, is what it is. A lot of the market died. Are you doing anything different to screen Esther setups? I remember at one point you said you were trying to systemize your process more. I'm actually working on it to screen everything basically, because we did find some really random setups just like going through this. One of the setups that I found literally by just flicking through stuff was fill. So I found this by literally flicking through it, and this was that is a completely unadjusted trade, right? That is the actual trade, 18R. You know, we were live on stream in the Paragon last week when we did it, and that was the target, which somehow, very autistically, was basically the Pico fucking top. Hi daddy, if you're here. What? Yeah, so like this was an absolute banger. Again, this was actually done on spot, not perps, but perps were a little bit better on fill, I think, but Yeah, I didn't do it on my perp account, sadly. He's a market maker, whale. Mate, I don't know how to market make as much as I'd love to say I'm a market maker and all that kind of stuff. I just ape like the rest of you. I mean, my execution is probably a bit messier than it should be in terms of I market in more than I should. And actually, I'd save myself a reasonable amount on fees if I didn't. But equally, I'd lose out on a lot of my rotational trades if I waited to like limit chase. Yeah. So that's the real like downside of my trading style, is that I almost have to market in and limit out, which, you know, is fine, right? It's part of the style, it's part of the rotational trading. When you catch something like this, then who gives a fuck, right? Did you short Aya? No, I did not short Aya. The thing is, with the people think like, you know, you try and be the fucking champion, right? I mean, I covered Aya off in my outlook way back here, and again, we were looking at this and going, look, this is pretty fucking good in terms of structure. Really looks like it's going to break out. Let's wait for some relative strength for confirmation. Get the relative strength at a decent level. Bosh, off it goes. Absolutely round trips the entire thing. Bosh, off it goes again. But, you know, you're looking at this and going, the team clearly has supply control. This is clearly one of the biggest fucking scams in terms of the, you know, entire market, right? They clearly corner a massive load of supply, and they can unwind it very quickly. So, you know, you're fading like a 16x in a couple of days, you know, for the chance of, you know, okay, it's a 90% drawdown. But at any point, you know, you could have shorted here and thought you were a fucking champion, and then you would have got your ass absolutely handed to you. You know, for me, these scam coins are just never worth shorting. Absolutely worth trying to go for a long sometimes if you've got the confluence with relative strength and whatnot. But if you haven't, then why would you bother? Why would you bother trying to short something that, you know, they literally have 99% supply control and can just knock you out and kill you in one candle? So no, I did not short this. I don't regret not shorting it either. But does that make sense as to why I just don't think you would do it? But there's a lot of opportunity on things like this, yeah? We're talking about the same setup earlier, I know. Very clear resistance. As soon as you start seeing a breakout, I think Nelly and the Paragon actually was looking at this as one of the potential like scam breakouts. But this is, you know, having a system to find that. That's what I'm working on at the moment. Update on Uni, yeah. So for me, I'm still bullish Uni. I think actually the fundamental drivers of what they are, you know, proposing for Uni is essentially, where is it? So they're doing two things, you know, burn some of the supply and put the fees back to holders, essentially. Have I moved Uni? No, I'm just being a dumbass, aren't I? So yeah, really strong run. You know, clearly lots of wicks up here after the event. When you start losing, you know, the range level after that, can absolutely take some profits. But for now, you know, I'm still in this, and I've just gone hard with, you know, my perp profits, essentially. Not all of it, obviously, just a part of it, in terms of like what this risk is. And this, to me, structurally is fine. You know, we've got a series of higher lows. We're currently looking at this kind of support here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Hopefully we get a breakout soon, and hopefully we get a little bit of relative strength on a low time frame basis. If we can get that, then it'll be good for another rotation. I don't think this trade is done. I could be wrong. I'm wrong, you know, what? Anywhere between 20% and 60% of the time. So, yeah. But I still think it looks good. I think the fact that we've broken out of essentially like a 4-year range, if I you know, get rid of all this, you know, yes, it had a really nice run up, but do we honestly think that that's it, that that's all they've got in their locker, and that this huge amount of accumulation is just going to end up in one dead cat bounce candle? Yeah, maybe. If Bitcoin dies, and Bitcoin continues its descent, then fair enough. I'm wrong. But if we can reverse any of this downtrend, if we can find some demand from a high time frame basis, my concern at the moment is we basically held up at 100k, which I think is the kind of quote unquote obvious psychological level to hold up from. So where is it? Here. We tapped into 100k. We're still in a downtrend, and that's the most obvious spot where demand kind of should come in, right? Previous resistance, support, etc., etc. Like, it's a pretty significant level. I think if we lose that, I think the pain will come quite quickly. And I hope it doesn't, but yeah. Why do I always get un poquito and no pico? What do you mean? Thoughts on ICP? Was it a flash in the pan? Or, I mean, I think a lot of these are probably flash in pans. I think uni is not a flash in the pan, but then I am biased. What you're looking at here for ICP is, can this essentially hold up? This is almost the perfect point for potential continuation, yeah? And we've got a lot of things that we can draw confluence from here. So we've got a strong downtrend. We've got a kind of contracting wedge, yeah. So we've had the break of like a literal straight up, like look how clean that is, yeah. It's literally straight up like vertical accumulation basically. And then as soon as we lost that on like a huge sell-off, that was it. Risk comes off, but we've had it off a rotation of what's that like how many X's is that off the lows? Nearly 4x off the lows. Like, it's pretty insane. So to have a pullback of 30-40%, it's pretty reasonable in a strong uptrend. I'm not saying go out and buy ICP like Internet Computer Protocol. We actually did a long thing on this in the Paragon group last week because in my head it's worth $482 and now it's worth $9 supposedly. But unobjectively, it's quite a nice chart in terms of high time frame levels. It's a classic former resistance, bosh. Over here, potentially turns into support. So, yeah, I think there's absolutely a potential trade here. You've also got the confluence of, they are janky divs, but you can see that RSI has slowed down massively, We hit an extreme of oversold over here, and now we're starting to really slow down on that downward momentum and start moving up. Brother, the price of ES is 20% away from the yearly 5 EMA candle. Or EMA, sorry. 20%, mate. Yearly candle. Purely based on that, you need to be mentally ill to be bullish on crypto. I mean, you say that, but there are pockets of crypto from an intraday perspective. It's literally paid to be bullish on. So, yeah. I kind of get what you're saying, but I can't trade stocks, mate. So, crypto better carry on. I mean, it is pretty abominable, though, that, the Bitcoin chart looks like this. Like, if I just delete everything. And, SPX looks like this. This is clearly very weak compared to that. Tau looks like it's about to roll over. Yeah, Tau's not really one I've traded massively. mean, it's at high time frame support. Had a really nice run. I'm not particularly bullish or bearish on it. I'm pretty agnostic. You know, it's there. I don't think it's particularly exciting or interesting for anyone. You know, typically by the time that this shows any relative strength, it's kind of already ran. Can you do a Vici? Oh, if I have to. I kind of faded it. I kind of mid-curved a Vici. And I'll explain why. I'm not trying to FUD anyone's bags or anything like that. But let's have a look. Yeah, I'm not going to try and FUD anyone's bags because, you know, it's been a very good run. But to me, the whole, and it's probably got a lot more in it, to be honest, probably because I'm sidelined. And I was looking at it like way back here. And I was like, I'm sure like Monero and, well, not Monero, but any kind of entity that's tried to connect like Visa, what the hell is with my pronunciation today? Jesus Christ, I need to go to elocution lessons or something. With crypto, has come under the same scrutiny. It's essentially, you're fucking money laundering, you cunts. Like, you can't have anonymous payments using crypto because otherwise no one's going to pay tax on their crypto. So that's why I faded this. Get an ad block now? What? But yeah. That's why I thought this is just going to do this and then go like that in one fucking fell swoop. And also, if I haven't done any research into this, by the way, so I'm just purely speculating. But if the idea is that you deposit it into their bank and then you get to spend it using Visa, then, you know, once that pot becomes big enough, bye-bye. But I haven't done any, especially if it's on a non-team and all that kind of stuff. But again, I've done no research, so please don't take that as I'm fudding any bags. That was just my at-a-glance look, and I missed out on whatever the fuck this is, like a 10x. Probably. Probably not. Probably more like a 5x, but still. So yeah, I mean, it looks great, but like, again, like, you know, I don't buy here. I would buy like here when you're breaking out, or like here when you're breaking out, and then obviously round trip it, just for consistency. Because you've got, you know, resistance, 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 reasonable place to assume that it breaks out and runs further. Clearly it didn't, it literally just took the highs here. But yeah. Found out nobody uses their app. It literally has 5k downloads on Google. Oh, okay. You make good money on it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's it, right? Like, I'm really not trying to slag off anyone's backs. Like, fair play if you made money on it. I've got no qualms with that, right? That's the whole point of crypto. It was just that I don't think it'll be around forever, because it's like literally illegal, by my limited understanding, not financial advice, etc. But yeah, usually these end up in a nice run, and if you catch that, who gives a fuck? Charlie, I have a question. Far away. Alright, blocks illegal in your country. Everything is illegal in this country. Hunt just says Sonic. What, the Hedgehog? How's the new couch? I haven't got it yet, mate. It's coming in probably a couple of weeks. Should be before Christmas. So yeah. Let's look at some like actual like next leg setups and what I think is good. You know, I think Asta is going to go at some point. I think we get a breakout eventually of like the 1.2 range. And I think when we get that, you know, we basically get the full cup and handle on essentially a big new launch, right? We get this. We can see it's already doing that. I do think we get that. I think we get an explosive run up, and then I think we get something like that. Right, so I'm looking for it breaking out of this range. That's trade one. Breakout here. Play a breakout. Play another breakout on a consolidation here. Add in and go for a proper another leg. If it does that, if it just wants to do this and die, well then fuck it. It does it and dies. Yeah, in the context of Bitcoin's downtrending, crypto's relatively weak. It's quite hard to start thinking about swinging some of these assets. Pump Fun is another one that I've had on my radar, and I've not taken this trade just yet. But we've had some real good signs of relative strength on Pump Fun, and I do want to see, this is essentially the Asta trade, but just like moved on a little bit, as in we've had the first run up. This is now the consolidation. As soon as we get the breakout of this little range, hopefully on relative strength, and hopefully I can get in a little bit earlier like this, and like play a rotation like that. I don't think Pump Fun's done either. I always feel like somebody's watching me because I have leprosy. Fair. Can you cover some of your favorite short setups for RR? I mean, the best short setup that I've had, and I'm not shorting too much in general, is this. This is Zek. Literal parabolic move, lower high, chat to XO, make sure he's happy with it, and then we nail it. And then that's where you get out of it, because you've got a change in structure, you've got relative strength, like massive relative strength, big structure break. I even tried along here, and if I was ballsy, I would have flipped short, but I'm not ballsy. Like not in the context of this, right? It was pretty obvious that there was a nice like structure break and all this kind of stuff in terms of like strong uptrend in terms of higher lows, but it wasn't as clean as this in terms of that's a lower high and that's your very kind of euphoric, because literally every cunt on Twitter was talking about Zek and how it's the greatest thing and it's going to $1,000 minimum up here as we printed a load of wicks into a parabolic high. So yeah, I wasn't being aggressive short here, I was actually aggressive long here. And I was just marveled at the fact that I could print thousands of dollars in literally as I was recording my Outlook actually, and I was like, this is just insane. When I really think about what we do, click a button and then hope it goes up or down based on the direction you bet off it, and then click another button and make money, or lose money. But yeah, it's wild. But yeah, this was really nice. But that setup is pretty much the setup that I love for shorts. Now, you're coming to the stream sort of asking for short setups on a big red day. That's kind of not how I do it, really. I don't want to be shorting like range lows. I want to be shorting like failing highs. I want to be playing rotations as they're happening. Yeah, to the long side or the downside. I want to be, how do I doodle it? If this is like the rotational flow of the market, and obviously sometimes it's going to rotate to the upside, sometimes it's going to rotate to the downside. If I'm longing, I want to be like here. And if I'm shorting, I want to be here. I don't want to be like down here going, right, I'm going to start shorting, because as each rotation evolves, the further down you are, the worse RR it is to short, and vice versa with longs. So yeah, I'm not looking at shorting anything in particular right this moment. I don't really have any high time frame short setups that I like. I would much rather be like longing breakouts like this on Altcoin, which is exactly what I did. Big profits secured, JK bruv. But just no follow through. It's weak. Breakout of a decent consolidation, decent level in terms of support, resistance, etc. Nice run up, just nothing. Just pretty weak market. Hey, AM17, how are you, mate? Thoughts on hype? It's kind of similar to a lot of stuff, like, the hype's over. Not as in this is garbage going to zero, but just we had like real nice DEX meta and stuff, and it's just a bit meh. It's meh of a trade. We're sat in this big range, really. It's just not particularly exciting unless something changes dramatically. I don't see why I'd want to be like allocating capital to this. Near was crazy a couple of days ago. Yeah, it was. Near was really good. Near was a rotation that I missed, to be fair. You can't catch them all. You can try, but yeah, I did completely miss Near. And typically, whenever I've traded near, like on a perps basis, I've not had too much fun with it, to be honest. I did buy near spot during the like AI frenzy, and it did quite well. But yeah, don't do too well on a perps basis. But what else have we got? Let's have a peep. Pretty much everything in the positions, which I don't know why I'm calling it positions. Hello. Ow. What happened there? Thank you, guys. I think I might have tapped my mic or something. I'm not sure how much you heard or didn't hear. I'd make a terrible like streamer like Thread Guy, wouldn't I? Like interviewing CZ and then I'm just fucking making no noise. Boomer army out. Happens to me a lot. Yeah, I think it's this mic. Hang on. Yeah, if I tap the color bit, if I knock it ever so slightly, then it's fucked. Started with useless. Yeah, so what I was saying is I've longed useless a couple of times, and basically I'm using it as a proxy for risk. So when you are thinking like the whole market is turbo like dog shit and it's all downtrending to the right, yeah, you'd be absolutely right. When you want to see, or sorry, when you start seeing a little bit more of a risk on appetite, so you start seeing things like Altcoin pushing, useless pushing, etc., that's when you know you're probably in for a decent risk on rotation. So I'm using this as a real barometer for risk at the moment, and everyone's like, oh Charlie, you can't do that, and I'm like, of course I can. It seems to work, to be blunt. It seems to work for like this rotation, like really strong in the general market, because if people are buying like literal useless crap, then you know that you're in probably a strong rotation. Yeah? And if you see like this one, this is kind of a weak rotation. The outlier really is Altcoin, because what we've got is, you know, it's just not really dying much, which, you know, was my hope for the trade I took, but I've closed it obviously with basically a break even anyway. And like Asta's way outperforming it. On a low time frame basis. But yeah, if we start seeing this, you know, I'm kind of hoping that it's like here and that it reclaims and then it actually breaks out. So looking at something like that, etc. But there's no trade yet. There's no trigger. There's no reason for me to jump into this. I can't just buy a low because I think it's going to change suit. You know, this kind of structure of strong downtrend into a consolidation, into a move up, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. You know, jump in here, play the rotation, wrong under here. Nice. The mic went off during the Bitcoin analysis. Can you start over? You wish. Everyone wishes it did. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I mean, look at some of this stuff, man. It's just brutal. Like, I don't know how everyone's so, like, turbo bullish on Twitter. I just don't get it. Like, I've not been aggressively shorting it, and to be honest, you know, I was messaging XO on, like, the, I was semi-drunk, but anyway, on, like, the 8th of October, whenever it was, saying, it's fucking over, rah, rah, rah. He was like, yeah, but what's your honest opinion? I was like, it's dead, mate. It's like, I can't get any fucking bounces to stick. because I'd taken a loss, and I was like, I just can't get like any decent rotations to stick for like 2 days solid. So I went turbo cash on like the 9th, and obviously the 10th happened and everybody died. But yeah, don't know why Pengu's on this list. Get that off. But yeah, Loki hoping that we might get a bit of relief on something like Farcoin, but like look how slow it is. Look how slow even this is. Yeah, it's, you know, reasonably holding up reasonably well, but it's also because it's fucking giga nuked into the ground, right? Absolute turbo nuked. And again, like, I don't know why, you know, people are rushing into like swing positions and stuff that's basically like had its cycle. And obviously I'm not trying to swing at this particular like rotation. It's a rotation. If I get 5, 6, 7% out of it, then I'm happy. But still, strong downtrend. And this is what I mean. I'm never the guy that buys the low, like here. But we are getting reduced volatility. We are getting that compression. We are getting potentially, you know, signs of complete capitulation on some of these alts, which would be amazing. Any hope for ETH to break out all-time high end of year? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's always hope, right? And one of the things that we're like here for is the potential of that big market reversal. And you gotta think, like, when I look at stuff like this and I go, wow, you know, ETH's a big bag of shit. You go, well, is it? You know, it's had some really nice liquid run-ups, and a lot of them have just been like range reclaim setups. It's not been like super complicated, right? It trades reasonably well, you know, in the later years. And actually, you know, this range reclaim here was really nice. I did map it out, but I never took it, which is minorly irritating. But anyway, you know, crypto market will, I think, kind of always operate between these big extremes of sort of fear and greed. Now, not as much as they have done in the past, right? I think that the cycles will probably get shorter and sharper, which is kind of Kobe's thought process, which I really like and agree with. But I think as long as fear and greed exist, then crypto is one of the best mechanisms for you know, taking advantage of that volatility of human financial greed. But do I honestly think that this is going to hit a new all-time high by the end of the year? Not with the chart looking the way it does. Not with ETH BTC, you know, just consistently plotting downtrend PA. Yeah, we had a strong uptrend on ETH. You know, it's been good, but that's broken. It's unobjectively broken. And I see people posting bullish ETH BTC charts, and I seriously wonder how this can be interpreted as bullish. But whatever. You know, guess people want to just sell a narrative. How we did earlier, mate. But short version is downtrend, not looking great. Want to see some strength, sell off, reclaim, something like that. That coin's begging for a fatality move to the downside. Yeah, I think that's like my view on ETH, really, is that it just looks like shit. You know, you look at this and you go, it can't print like new highs. It's just struggling. And like, you got this like key level across here. And it's just weak. You know, if you stick an EMA on it, it's just gonna look like this, isn't it? Boop. Over any decent time frame. He says, thinking, why don't I just do that? You know, unobjectively, not great. Start flipping it. You can start talking to me about being bullish, reclaiming levels, reclaiming former range lows. Great. until then, don't fight the trend, exactly. It is what it is, you know. As long as I think you're optimistic over a longer time horizon, and that you believe in cycles, and you believe that this is cyclical, you know, if we're here, or here, I think it's pretty impossible to say we're here, or here. I think, you know, we're probably somewhere in this, like, middle bit. And then you want the capitulation, and then you want the time capitulation, and then we'll run it back again when everyone goes, oh my god, crypto's great. Same story on Sol. Anyone looks good. Yeah, anyone's been disappointing in terms of price action, to be blunt. I genuinely expected with the privacy narrative for it to run and to take off. And essentially every time it tried to break out of the accumulation range, it just got sold into. So pretty disappointing. But equally, it's held up better than 99% of the other altcoins. So kind of can't complain about that. But didn't really buy a stablecoin. Or didn't buy it for it to be a stablecoin. You know, like, look at this, like, pretty clean. Charlie had music up and thought my Spotify was on. If you are uncomfortable in a position and can't sleep thinking, what if it round trips, just literally close it, can always get it back. Yeah. I mean, that's always it. If it's costing you your sleep and your life, then is it really worth it? I don't know. For me, it's not. Yeah, like, I really like simple EMA systems because, you know, you can combine it with price action and go, look, we're under the EMAs, we're at range lows, we've got no real reason to be bullish, look, it's selling off. Whereas now, if the EMAs pull down, if it pulls down a little bit more and then starts running back up, you'd go, well, actually, we've reclaimed the EMAs, we've reclaimed the range, this should at least take the range highs, and maybe it gets continuation to the upside. I'm not saying it will, the whole market looks pretty pish. And one of the weakest holds. But one of the weakest often turns into one of the strongest. So, yeah, we'll bear that in mind. Any thoughts on Inge? No, I haven't really got any thoughts on Inge. I haven't looked at Inge for a long time. Again, like, objectively, that's a nice consolidation. Nice breakout. Above the trend. That's just obviously low time frame. Wow. Absolutely destroyed from a high time frame perspective though, isn't it? Yeah. Probably not super interested in playing a rotation on it. Like, usually if this was a much tighter consolidation, so, you know, you sort of sold off like this and did this, and when it went for the third, like, tap of resistance up here, I could go for that, but dude, this is, yeah, a bit janky. I didn't do no. Long setups are probably available tomorrow. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I never know. Like, ever. You know, you never go, okay, well, today's going to be a good day for longs, a good day for shorts, or whatever. I guess, based off where Bitcoin is, for example. And, you know, today I guessed right. And actually, this whole, you know, run up, failure to break above former highs, after breaking above here and going on a nice little run, reclaiming, failing, and then selling off. Like, yeah, that worked out quite nicely. The fact that we couldn't reclaim. Yeah, I'm really hoping that, like, this provides some support and that we just do something like this and react quite strongly to it. But the downside of like SPX, or sorry, crypto being relatively weak compared to TradFi at the moment is like this is, like look at it, it's basically up only. And then Bitcoin, on the other hand, is just, you know, up only, strong sell-off, completely retraced the entire move, or almost the entire move. It's not boding too well. But I have to admit, the volatility has been insane, right? It's been really fun to trade. Although I did stop trading for the old whatever it was, 100% screenshot. I was like, yeah, that's literally it. So that's going on Twitter tomorrow. I'm happy with that. In a week. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm fairly euphoric with that, given the conditions. Don't ego max? Oh, I've got to ego max, mate. I'm managing my own ego in terms of actually how I am trading, because I'm not trading. I've like not traded today. You should have pride but no ego maxing. Yeah, I mean, thanks, but I kind of know what I'm doing. I'm allowed to be egotistical. You know, have a good week. And I have the ability to not let that manifest into piss poor trading. So I will inevitably take some losses as I try and long some of these rotations. But, you know, I looked at FET earlier as an example. I started the day thinking, oh, FET looks all right. Where is my shitty chart? I don't normally long stuff like FET, but if the strength is there, then I kind of have to migrate over to it. And I usually manage that with size, so I size down for this. But yeah, you've got the similar kind of structure as we had on ZEC the other day. So, you know, strong run up, strong attempt at breaking out, clean resistance going across here. This was when I woke up this morning, so it was basically another fresh attempt at those highs. But you know, the only way I was going to get in on a long in that is if we actually, you know, properly broke out of this and went above the kind of 3.9 area, which we didn't do. Will Meta bounce harder? Or was that it? I don't know, man. I don't trade stocks. Don't trade stocks. Yeah, even like Altcoin is not looking particularly wonderful. You know, you see this and you go, well, Asta looks like one of the better coins. Do you think accountants have an edge in trading compared to second tier humans? Yeah, 100%. I think you tend to be quite switched off to numbers and focus on process more naturally. Like everyone thinks that accountants are number geeks, and you know they're not unless you give them a spreadsheet typically. So yeah, I think that kind of cold respect the numbers kind of attitude helps quite a lot. Yeah, I think Asta probably has a nice rotation, and we probably make up for the fact that this was piss earlier. Let's have a look, low time frame. My friend's mum's an accountant and trader. I heard she's good. Rare to find female traders in general. What are you talking about, mate? We got Honey XPT. Come on. Have some respect. But yeah, I think that's probably it for me. I think The XBT probably lost less money than 99% in chat, in all fairness. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. No, I got mad respect for whoever's running that account. It's funny, and the way that they dealt with it was like, lol, man, I shot the Pico highs, and then it's, you know, a $5 position or $10 position. Sorry, it's like, fuck me. Okay. You know, that is, yeah, it's just hilarious to me. It's like, don't trust verify and all that. You're welcome. Yeah, I'll do nano, and then I'll call it. I think we've lost the music. Let me just bosh the old music back on, and then we'll GGX. My throat is actually starting to go. Nano. It's not on Binance anymore. Holy shit. I mean, I remember Nano from like way back. I think it's kind of fallen into that gap of, you know, old, very old coin that's getting like an exit pump. I mean, it looks really fucking good if you bought it like here or here. But would I be buying this like illiquid piece of Garbonza right now? Not really. It's the same as Uniswap, right? In terms of like this, like pure vertical accumulation. Like, I just can't buy that. I can buy this, right? So you got confluence of like a breakout, with a lot of higher lows running into it, probably some relative strength. Like I can do that. Even here, I could justify it, yeah. But like, I can't trade this. I cannot trade this region here. If it comes back and consolidates, does something like this, yeah, excellent. You know, resistance, a bit choppy, but whatever, we'll call it support. And then, you know, we'll go through that, and then we'll find resistance across there, and a breakout trade again. But yeah, I can't touch that. Yeah, high time frame, I mean, it looks illiquid as fuck, but very strong move. You know, I'm not sure if that helps. .9, you bought 0.9. Presume on like reclaim of this, and sold at 1.25. Yeah, it's kind of like high time frame resistance. I get where you'd sell there. Thought it took at first, then I changed my mind. Now I'm coping a bit, such as life. It is a liquid zoom on the hourly candles from 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Woo. Yeah, but the thing is, like, there's you can do that constantly, right? I looked at this earlier, actually. I saw it in one of my friend's Telegram channels. And I also saw Ansem tweet about it yesterday. And Ansem tweeted about it at like $3. And I was like, maybe I just ape. Like, I got like some money on a Sol wallet that I just never use. I might as well just fucking smash it in somewhere. So, you know, I can do the whole mental torturous thing if I want to. And obviously I'm going to do it up to the highs. I could have aped 100 grand in there. And I could have made 100 grand in a day. Because I obviously would have sold the Pico top. Because I would have been here for it. You'll always do that to yourself, and it doesn't achieve anything. You just torture yourself. The thing that you can do though is you can go, well, what can I learn from this? Like, do I, like, from this, for me personally, it's just stop mid-curving. Like, you know, if there's something that's down at like wherever it was, like 83 cents and whatever it was that back then. Let's have a look. 10 million market cap, RR. We're smashing 10 grand in it and just seeing what happens. Might as well, you know, go for it. There you go. It's my lesson. You know, for you and Nano, you got out at 125. You know, at no point would I have said that that's a particularly like bad place to exit, because you know it looks like you had like huge amounts of divs over there. It was a really nice trade. You could have got back in on it like anywhere over here, or breakout over here if you really wanted to. You know, there's always another trade, is the point. You know, I sold my Unipert position yesterday very early, far too early, because I didn't like the liquidity. And then you go, oh, Charlie, you should have held and done this and yada yada yada. But what the fuck's that going to do? I made a decision based off the fact that there was fuck all, or it felt like fuck all liquidity, and it was almost like the pump on Uni, you know, came after. So the actual pump like was here. And this was a pump, and then like that was kind of it. It was like, oh, is that it? And then obviously it just ran like a motherfucker. But yeah, I sold it at 7 something, like here. It was like literally there. So, but I'd probably still make the same decision again, because it felt liquid as shit. Well, I didn't want a load of perp exposure. But you're also talking to someone who sold like $1 billion of SHIB early, so yeah, always another trade. Yeah, let's see if Bitcoin's got any strength here. See if the Asians want some Bitcoin during Bitcoin Asia, which is what I'm now calling it. So yeah, I think that's probably it from me, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you've learned something about rotations. Hopefully we can find some things to run after in the next week or so. You know, we've obviously had some really nice rotations, but we just seem to be meeting everything with like relative weakness at the moment. You know, strong downtrends on lots of coins, and we just need to wait patiently for that to subside, which I'm sure it will. And I'm sure we'll catch some decent rotations as the weeks commence. But let's let them come to us and not be super aggressive in trying to long every little move. But we shall see. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll be doing this at the same time next week. If you want to try out my partner's Breakout prop, the code is in the bottom left. Thank you very much for all your time, your support, your love, your questions, your comments on Twitter, your memes, everything you throw my way. Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll come back next week with this being much higher. But like I said, I'm not going to rush into longing a downtrending market aggressively. But we'll see. We might get something on useless coming our way soon. So in the meantime, au revoir, stay safe, see you next week.